Okay. Well, good afternoon and welcome to this interview for House District 53 for the Virginia General Assembly. This is an interview with Sam Soghor. Is that how we pronounce your last name?
Yes, that's a fine pronunciation. Any
Okay, great.
pronunciation is fine, but yes, Soger. Like,
Soghor. Okay. And again, I'm Barry Butler, Director of Government Relations for the Lynchburg Regional Business Alliance, and we are doing these series of candidate interviews for the three state senate districts and the four House of Delegates districts that touch on the Lynchburg region. And with the 53rd, it's basically northern Bedford County, all of Amherst, and then about half of Nelson County. Is that correct, Sam?
it's most of Nelson, so there's only three precincts that touch Albemarle and Nelson that are not part of this district.
Okay.
So I say most of Nelson.
All right. And Bedford and Amherst County are part of the Regional Business Alliance's footprint here in this region. So they're again very important that we try and get to know anybody that's running, but also anybody that will potentially be representing us. And I have Nick DeGiorgio here. And Nick, can you introduce yourself?
Mr. Soghor, thank you for hopping on the call today. My name is Nick. I am a financial advisor with United Bank. I manage our Central Virginia markets, and I also serve on the Public Policy Committee for the Lynchburg Regional Business Alliance. Barry.
Awesome.
Okay. All right. Well, we don't want to belabor this any longer. It's going to, we're going to try and do about 30 minutes. And like I said, we won't be able to get to every question that we have on our list. But the first two, we definitely ask every candidate. The first one, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your professional experience, and your connection to the district that you're running for office? And actually,
Yes.
introduce yourself too.
Hi, everyone. Gentlemen, thank you so much for having me. For whoever's listening out there in the greater Lynchburg area, my name is Sam Soghor, aka Amherst Man, aka PTO Dad, and aka Sacrificial Lamb, because I'm the Democratic nominee in a plus 40 Republican voting district. I'm the nominee because no one else signed up to do this. However, I am a very engaged member of my community here in Amherst. I attend every Board of Supervisors meeting, every school board meeting, every town council meeting here in the town of Amherst. I volunteer with the Sheriff's Department doing trash cleanup on 29. I volunteer with the Amherst Historical Society doing genealogical research. I work at a restaurant called Bonfire here in the town of Amherst. It's the only restaurant in Amherst County that serves Amherst County cows. Beyond that, we also have some other local ingredients. Our greens are from the Sweetbriar College greenhouse. We use lamb from Stewart's Draft just over the Blue Ridge and the Valley. So I'm really proud to be part of all that. I was never involved in party politics before coming here to Amherst. When I got into this community, people saw that I was going to these meetings because as a dad, I think it's important for parents to be involved in the education system. Even if they're not concerned about their own kids' education, they should be concerned about the school system in general to make sure that even if their kid is doing okay, like to make sure that the other students in the class are doing well so that, all the students could be getting a good education. Of course, that ties into all kinds of economic initiatives for our area too. We need to have skilled workers. Anyway, all that being said, I started getting involved going to these meetings, and then people in the community asked me to step up. I would never have thought to run for office if it wasn't for Amherst, born and raised natives saying, Sam, will you please step up to represent us? I'm really disappointed in the two-party system. I see too often leaders and specifically our representatives in Richmond towing a party line and showing loyalty to their party over their loyalty to their district. And I think that you can see the effects of that. We have some raucous school board meetings sometime when politicians come out for a certain agenda, but meanwhile, there's not a single playground in the entirety of Amherst County with a sprinkler system. There's no public pool. There's empty storefronts everywhere. And so I just feel like we have politicians right now on both sides of the aisle that are more concerned with these wedge issues. And meanwhile, the things that need to be getting done aren't getting done. I think there's a lot of anger on both sides. I think the right feels angry and justified in their anger, but I think the left is angry and they feel justified in their anger. And if we keep following these paths, we're not going to get anywhere. Because the fact of the matter is, I have a lot of friends that aren't involved in politics at all, and they're just angry about their car or their job or their relationship. So I think the anger is the issue. And if I were to get to Richmond, I want to be able to be a uniter. I think that a community like Amherst County, 32,000 people, if you're from the big city, like 30,000 people, it's like a portion of a neighborhood. So we should all be able to come together. Amherst County has one high school. Why shouldn't that high school be as good as the high school in Fairfax or Arlington? In fact, it's a travesty that it's not. And like I'm saying, I don't see folks showing up to these meetings when it's about budget, when it's about teacher pay or teacher shortages or the passing rates. I see folks showing up to spout off talking points that they heard on the news or that a party leader gave them their marching orders. I think that that's a big problem. So that's a bit about why I'm running and how I got involved in all this. I don't have any political ambition. I'm turned off by the politicians who are only about maintaining their own political power. And I'm just about engaging our community so that we can have a better quality of life for everyone, for our students, for our seniors, for our workers. And since I'm speaking with the Lynchburg Regional Business Alliance, I think this all ties into our economy here, that if we can build up these things, build up our infrastructure, then we're going to have more skilled workers coming out of a place like Amherst, and we're going to make Amherst more attractive for business to locate.
Okay. Well, Sam, let me, and I think you've covered some of this, but if you can, be a little more specific, thinking about the
Yes.
district, if you're elected, what are going to be your legislative priorities when you go to Richmond?
So absolutely, education is number one priority. Thankfully, the Amherst Board of Supervisors recently approved $14 million to finish this high school construction project. But we need to keep moving forward. And I believe that we don't need to raise taxes to get this to improve our education system here. I believe the money is already allocated. So there's all kinds of grant money available for school construction projects. In fact, Amherst didn't get some of this money, and that had to do with perhaps some of that was just the grant application itself wasn't robust enough, or there were some hurdles wherein Amherst's debt service wasn't high enough to qualify for the grant money. So it's stuff like that, I think, where a strong legislator comes in and facilitates getting this grant money and really goes to bat for the district. Like I said, some people in my community, and I respect them for it, are really nervous because for the Republicans, that is a party line. That is something you toe the party line, no taxes. And I get it. I mean, people are struggling. People don't like the idea. Sometimes you're just talking about a few pennies here and there. So it's really not like something so severe, but I get it. So what I'm saying is the money has already been allocated. It's just sitting there in Richmond, and it's sitting there waiting to be infused into these rural areas. For instance, I also have farmer friends that would qualify for certain types of grants from Richmond, that there's just too much red tape. It's too complicated. And again, that's where I believe that if I were to go to Richmond, I could help secure that kind of funding. And that's funding to increase teacher pay, to increase teacher continuing education, to increase programs for our students so that they have extracurricular activities. Um, Another anecdote that I think is important is we have Buffalo Air in Amherst, and the CEO or president of Buffalo Air came to a board of supervisors meeting recently saying he would love to be hiring more workers coming out of Amherst, but he unfortunately is having to go to other localities to get talent to work at his factory because there's only so many welding bays at Amherst High School, but we could be producing more skilled welders in Amherst if only we had the infrastructure, and we have more CTE classrooms so that students could be coming out of high school already learning these trades or having learned these trades or having already started studying towards certification or degrees in these fields. So that's some part about education. I think this also has to do with farms and education, agriculture education. We live in an agrarian economy here. Farming was once the thing here. I mean, it is still the thing here, but I would like to see us getting back more toward generational farming. And so I'd like to see the agriculture education program expanded at our local high schools. Amherst did have a project in the works with Nelson to create a farm kind of expo center. It would be for students at the high school level to get agriculture education to be able to do generational farming in our area so that we could get back to that. So, and like I said before, I think there's these teacher shortages. We need to bring the teacher pay up in our area. I see teachers as being on the front lines, a kind of first responder, and doing really important work. And it's sad that many of my teacher friends in Amherst are working 2 or 3 jobs in addition to their one teacher job, which you'd think would be enough to just be a full-time job. I mean, it is, but it's not enough for them to be paying their bills and taking care of their families. So that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Second
Sam,
major,
we want
yeah,
to,
I'm sorry to carry on. I know we need to get through
yeah.
things. But education is a huge issue. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got, I mean, you definitely covered a lot of the questions that were, in our section on education workforce. So I'm going to, kind of reserve some time maybe to come back. But there's one that I want to talk about real quickly, and then the next question will go to Nick. And I would suggest, Nick, that we move on to a different section after this question. How can we provide additional support to school counselors and teachers to present all possible pathways, college track, and skilled trades?
So I think that I touched on that a bit where we need Amherst is embarking on a construction project to expand CTE, the what is it, the career and technical education. So just by expanding welding bays, the cosmetology program, agriculture program, these are opportunities to give our educators the tools to give students that education. I think, like I said, also that there is grant money available for continuing education for teachers to learn about these education pathways so that they can pass that along. Yeah, I mean, beyond that, I think that it's incumbent upon Richmond to provide these tools that that Richmond neglects the rural areas, that the schools in the more urban areas are just educating students at a higher rate, that the pass rate, the success rate at a Richmond high school, or I always think about these Northern Virginia schools as an example, or even a Charlottesville high school compared to what's going on in Amherst, for example. It's just not fair. How could our legislators in Richmond allow that to happen? It makes no sense for our communities. We need skilled workforce. We need an educated workforce. And I can't help but feel that the reason why public education is in the unfortunate state that it's in is because there's interest in private education. And there's like actually lobbyists in Richmond and DC that are pushing legislators to neglect public education and disrupt public education. That's a real problem. So I guess I would say that my legislative priorities are absolutely pulling out all the stops, getting all of the tools and resources for our students. They're our future. And like you said, we absolutely do need to focus on career paths, which are just a kind of traditional liberal arts model. That if there are farming students that come from farming families, they should have everything they can get at the high school level towards an agriculture degree.
All right, excellent. Well, we're starting to run a little short on time. So Nick, I'm going to kick it over to you for the next couple questions. Nick, are you there?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm
Oh,
going to be touching on
you were
two
frozen.
topics. I'm going to be touching on military.
Yep.
Sorry about that. I'm going to be touching on two topics, military and veterans affairs, as well as housing and childcare. So I'm going to ask you one topic off of each. So with military and veterans affairs, what are some ways that the Commonwealth of Virginia can encourage veterans and military families to stay to an education, training, to civilian careers?
All right, Sam, I
Okay.
didn't quite get that one. That's the question about keeping encouraging veterans and military families to stay in Virginia, connect them to education, training, or going straight from to civilian careers.
Yes, absolutely. We must take care of our veterans the way I talked about taking care of our teachers. Again, these are frontline workers. These are dedicated Americans who have lived a life of service. And I believe that Americans that live that life of service by putting their lives on the line, there's just no question that we need to pull out all the stops at our legislative level to take care of our veterans. So when it comes to housing, I'm talking about money, again, that has already been allocated in Richmond to take care of veteran housing, to subsidize housing, to make home ownership a possibility, to make our communities inviting. And as far as career opportunities for veterans, the same thing, that there is money available. It has already been allocated. It doesn't involve raising taxes. It's just about doing the right thing. We subsidize banks. We subsidize the agriculture industry. We subsidize the pharmaceutical industry. So it's just an absolute no-brainer that we would also subsidize, in fact, before all those big money industries, that we would subsidize military families to be able to have a quality of life. That's an absolute priority for me.
All right. Okay.
The other question we had was, thank you for your answer. The other question we had was around housing and childcare. The rising cost and availability of childcare is impacting available labor force, leaving many families struggling to find affordable childcare or even deciding to leave the workforce to stay home with their children. Do you think that the state has a role to play in solving this problem? And what are some of the ways the state can help to address the issue in your district?
Okay, absolutely. As a parent, I really understand this issue. Childcare is hugely important, as you say, for a family to be able to work and support the family. So in Amherst, we have a pre-K program, and around the country, these universal pre-K programs have been started. This is hugely important. It's one extra year that families can have free state-funded education and childcare opportunities. And I think that, yeah, workers have to be taken care of. Families have to be taken care of so that they can work and make sure that they know their children are in a safe place and they shouldn't have to go out of pocket. I mean, back in the day, I think our society has really changed. I think if you go back 100 years ago, we just lived in different ways. Families, extended families, for the more so lived together. When you look around Amherst County 100 years ago, a certain road out in the mountains, it's like a whole family lived on that road together. This house is where the grandparents and your uncles and aunts are here and your cousins are here. And the system just works differently. There's always family members, there's always like grandparents around. Things have changed. We're just not living like that anymore. So I think that society absolutely must provide, and that single parents shouldn't have to be put in between a rock and a hard place just to live. I mean, we need a workforce, we need people to be having children, and it's just something that's going to happen, for our communities to survive. It's essential. I'd like to speak also about affordable housing. I absolutely think that this is something that our local governments need to be paying attention to, and something that our legislators in Richmond need to be paying attention to. For instance, an issue here in the town of Amherst is short-term rentals. And so the town council has been kind of resistant to short-term rentals coming in. And a lot of local business owners and just residents that feel that, well, we need more short-term rental availability locally, for our economy, that this is a place that people want to come visit. We don't, I love the people, great business owners who run a motel in town, but it's not enough, and there's going to be big families sometimes that come and they want to be able to rent a house in town. This is something we should be able to get behind. It's only going to be good for business here in the town of Amherst, but and it's going to be good for our community too. I mean, that someone's grandparents or relatives have a place to stay when they come to town. However, I think on the other hand, we want to make sure that housing stays affordable, and that a young family that wants to buy a house doesn't get priced out because companies are coming in and buying up cheap houses to turn into short-term rental properties, and then that dries up housing costs. So I think that there's a place, that just to say that this is a complicated issue, but one that with care and done the right way, you can get the best of both worlds. So I really think that there is absolutely a role for, again, if people are in my community are nervous about government subsidy, believe me, folks, the money is already there. Tons of our tax dollars is already going to support billion-dollar corporations. Okay, so there's money available to help young families, let's say, to be able to buy a home. And I'm absolutely all for, yes, affordable housing is essential. I don't think that we should uh, I don't think that our time here on earth should, and our time, that the life in America should be about like it's some kind of game, like a do or die scenario. I think that yes, we make sure that banks don't fail, so that there is a place to make sure that families don't fail when it comes to just a basic quality of life.
All right. Nick, if we can ask one question, business climate, and then I'll take the next one, and then we'll wrap up. How's that sound?
Perfect. Well, Mr. Soghor, thank you for your answers. And the last question I have for you today is within the realm of the business climate, what are some ways to streamline the current infrastructure permitting process to support greater efficiency while maintaining the existing strong uniform standards?
Okay, thank you very much for this question. I think this is a role again where for Richmond, that where there's going to be, say, environmental regulations, which I'm assuming that this is one of the things you're talking about that could impede infrastructure growth, that there might be red tape because certain standards must be met for new construction projects, whether it's taking care of our waterways, taking care of our soil. When it comes to consideration for half of Amherst is the national forest. Okay, how do we consider taking care of our farmers while protecting homeowners? And I believe that Richmond absolutely has a responsibility here, that if there's going to be, say, environmental regulations that might impede infrastructure growth, well, then Richmond ought to provide all of the, again, tools and resources, monies that are available, expertise that's available, personnel, to coordinate with the localities at the local level, so that that the locality can still grow and do the building projects necessary to move in. It's 2023 and there's a lot of systems I can see in Amherst when it comes to our water that need to be upgraded. And how do we get these projects done? It's by coordinating with at the state level, coordinating at the national level with the local level. And when it comes to protecting our waterways, that it's like giving a place like Amherst all the tools and resources necessary to do it the right way.
All right,
Um,
thank you so much. One last question, because we are definitely short on time, and then after that, give you just a few short minutes to any closing thoughts and wrap up.
Okay. Thanks.
This one's going to be on entrepreneurship. What are some barriers that impede small business growth and entrepreneurship, and then how can these barriers be removed or minimized?
Okay. This is a big issue for me too, guys. Like, absolutely. It's shocking to me the empty storefronts that we see in our communities. Obviously here in Amherst, we do go to Lynchburg a lot to do our shopping and to go out to restaurants and stuff like that. And I know that downtown Lynchburg has come a long way. I'm not running in Lynchburg, but we have the same issues here in Amherst along the Madison Heights 29 corridor with lots of empty storefronts. We have those issues in the town of Amherst. You see it in Nelson, you see it in Bedford. So what is the impediment? Why it's such fertile ground for small businesses to come in and do something new, because there's so many things in our communities that aren't available. It should be a layup, right? And yet businesses are still struggling to succeed. Well, I do see that our communities make considerations for big companies in our area, like Glad Manufacturing, or aforementioned Buffalo Air, and so on. Why shouldn't small businesses get that same kind of consideration? I would really like to see our local legislators make more opportunities in the form of grants, tax breaks, types of subsidies for small businesses to come in. It's a win-win for everyone. It's good for the businesses themselves, obviously, to generate the economy, but it's just good for families to have more things to do. So, on a weekend when you're trying to go out with your family, just that there's more things to do, that in turn is going to make our areas more attractive for people to move into, and that's then going to generate more business. So I think that our legislators need to look not at, sometimes, again, going back to party line stuff, there's this attitude, well, no, we're not into government tax breaks or subsidies, this kind of thing. We don't want government assistance, but we need to look at this as an investment in our future, and to understand that by just putting a little bit of money perhaps into small businesses, that our communities are going to see a return on that investment, perhaps many times fold, in increased tax revenue from new residents that are going to be moving in, and more money that's going to be spent because of that initial investment.
All right, Sam, thank you so much for spending time with us. And just want to give you just a couple minutes to do so. Any closing thoughts, any wrap up that you'd like. So, Sam.
Okay, thank you so much. I don't have political ambition the way that some of the other political candidates are out here. And I see political candidates as doing anything to stay in power. I don't care whether I get this job or not. I mean, that's not to say that I don't want your vote, but I mean to say that this isn't my career. I'm just a guy, a dad in my community who's just trying to make a better life for the people that I live around. That's, like I said, business owners, students, senior citizens, and basically all the workers. We're a big family. There's not a lot of people here. It's a type of place where people honk at you on the street. You could know everyone. Every elected official here knows me, and and I think that we have an opportunity here to all come together. Foreign intelligence services and global corporations have an interest in seeing the American people divided. Because if we're fighting each other about nonsense, we're not united and coming together to fight together for a better community. And politicians exploit those differences. We have 85% in common with each other, and maybe we have this 15% of ideological difference. And are we going to stand for these powers to try to separate us? I'm not going to stand for that. Like I said, outside influences trying to weaken our country. So I say that we need to come together, forget this right and left nonsense. Yes, I believe that people may feel justified, and I'm not here to argue whether they're right or wrong. I'm here to say, let's just put all of that aside and get down to the business of making a better and brighter future for our own community here. And they can worry about all that stuff in DC or at The Hague, the international level. But right here in our communities, let's just focus on the real things, making the best schools that we can make, getting the best healthcare services that we can get for our senior citizens, getting the best opportunities for our small business owners, and yeah, just making a better quality of life for the citizens of Amherst, Bedford, and Nelson.
Well, Sam, thank you so much, and good luck down the road. And we will, we look forward to working with you in the future. If it comes up. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you all so much for what you do. I'm really in love with our community, and please keep up all the great work that you do at the LRBA.
All right, thank you.